Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. We are going forward, becoming expanded in our consciousness and in our knowledge and in our affection for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and for Srila Prabhupada for kindly giving us his ecstatic Bhaktivedanta purports, which explain the Bhagavatam in a way that no one else could do in English, for sure. Okay, Sanatana Goswami wrote a very nice prayer that we recite every day before we read the Bhagavatam to help us go deeper and understand what we're doing. It's called Srimad-Bhagavata Mahima Stotram. You can find it in the Sri Krishna Leela Stava, verses 412 to 416 by Sanatana Goswami. And it goes like this. Sarva Shashabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwandoditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself. Madhika Bando Matsangin Madhudo Man Mahadana Man Nistadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, and my source of ecstasy. I bow down to you. Did I just give the wrong verse? No, it was okay? The right verse? Was it the right verse? Okay. Asadu saduta dayin adini chochata kada hanamun chagadachin mam premna rit kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, the nature of the material world is revealing its head in Srimad-Bhagavatam, 8th canto. The demons got cheated by Vishnu in the form of Mohini Murti and gave the nectar to the demigods and didn't give any to the demons. And they were so bewildered by her feminine beauty that they didn't even notice what was happening until too late. And when they figured it out, they just attacked the demigods and there's a big battle going on. So we're right in the middle of that battle. Text 41, chapter 10. Maharaj Bali then attacked Indra with 10 arrows and attacked Airavata, Indra's carrier elephant, with 3 arrows. With 4 arrows, he attacked the 4 horsemen guarding Airavata's legs, and with 1 arrow, he attacked the driver of the elephant. Purport. The word Vahan refers to the soldiers on horseback who protected the legs of the carrier elephants. According to the system of military arrangement, the legs of the elephant bearing the commander were also protected. Text 42. Before Bali Maharaja's arrows could reach him, Indra, king of heaven, who was expert in dealing with arrows, smiled and counteracted the arrows with arrows of another type, known as bala, which were extremely sharp. Text 43. When Bali Maharaj saw the expert military activities of Indra, he could not restrain his anger. Thus he took up another weapon, known as Shakti, which blazed like a great firebrand. But Indra cut that weapon to pieces while it was still in Bali's hand. Text 44. Thereafter, one by one, Bali Maharaj used a lance, prasa, tomara, rishtis, and other weapons. But whatever weapons he took up, Indra immediately cut them to pieces. Text 45. My dear king, Bali Maharaj then disappeared and resorted to demoniac illusions. A giant mountain generated from illusion then appeared above the heads of the demigod soldiers. Text 46. From that mountain fell trees blazing in a forest fire. Chips of stone with sharp edges like picks also fell and smashed the heads of the demigod soldiers. Text 47. Scorpions, large snakes, and many other poisonous animals, as well as lions, tigers, boars, and great elephants, all began falling upon the demigod soldiers, crushing everything. Text 48. O my king, many hundreds of male and female carnivorous demons, completely naked and carrying tridents in their hands, then appeared, crying the slogans, cut them to pieces, pierce them. Text 49. Fierce clouds, harassed by strong winds, then appeared in the sky. Rumbling very gravely with the sound of thunder, they began to shower live coals. Text 50. A great devastating fire created by Bali Maharaj began burning all the soldiers of the demigods. This fire, accompanied by blasting winds, seemed as terrible as the Samvartaka fire, which appears at the time of dissolution. Text 51. Thereafter, whirlpools of sea waves, agitated by fierce blasts of wind, appeared everywhere before everyone's vision in a furious flood. Text 52. While this magical atmosphere in the fight was being created by the invisible demons, who were expert in such illusions, the soldiers of the demigods became morose. Text 53. O king, when the demigods could find no way to counteract the activities of the demons, they wholeheartedly meditated upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the creator of the universe, who then immediately appeared. Text 54. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes resemble the petals of a newly blossomed lotus, sat on the back of Garuda, spreading his lotus feet over Garuda's shoulders, dressed in yellow, decorated by the Kaustuba gem in the goddess of fortune, and wearing an invaluable helmet and earrings. The Supreme Lord, holding various weapons in his 8 hands, became visible to the demigods. Text 55. As the dangers of a dream cease when the dreamer awakens, the illusions created by the jugglery of the demons were vanquished by the transcendental prowess of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as soon as he entered the battlefield. Indeed, simply by remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes free from all dangers. Text 56. O king, when the demon Kalanemi, who was carried by a lion, saw that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, carried by Garuda, was on the battlefield, the demon immediately took his trident, whirled it, and discharged it at Garuda's head. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the master of the 3 worlds, immediately caught the trident. With the very same weapon he killed the enemy, Kalanemi, along with his carrier, the lion. Purport. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya says, Kala name ya dayak sarve karina nihata api shukino jivita santak punas tenaiva patitaha. Kalanemi and the other demons were killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari. And when Shukracharya, their spiritual master, brought them back to life, they were again killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 57. Thereafter, two very powerful demons named Mali and Sumali were killed by the Supreme Lord, who severed their heads with his disc. Then Malyaban, another demon, attacked the Lord. With his sharp club, the demon, who was roaring like a lion, attacked Garuda, the lord of the birds, who were born from eggs. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original person, used his disc to cut off the head of that enemy also. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 10th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled The Battle Between the Demigods and the Demons. Okay, Act 11 of the 8th, what? Anyway. Chapter 11. King Indra annihilates the demons. As described in this chapter, the great saint Narada Muni, being very compassionate to the demons who had been killed by the demigods, forbade the demigods to continue killing. Then Shukracharya, by his mystic power, renewed the lives of all the demons. Having been graced by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demigods began fighting the demons again with renewed energy. King Indra released his thunderbolt against Bali, and when Bali fell, his friend Jambasura attacked Indra, who then cut off Jambasura's head with his thunderbolt. When Narada Muni learned that Jambasura had been killed, he informed Jambasura's relatives, Namuchi, Bala, and Paka, who then went to the battlefield and attacked the demigods. Indra, king of heaven, severed the heads of Bala and Paka and released the weapon known as Kulisha, the thunderbolt, against Namuchi's shoulder. The thunderbolt, however, returned unsuccessful, and thus Indra became morose. At that time, an unseen voice came from the sky. The voice declared, "A dry or wet weapon cannot kill Namuchi." Hearing this voice, Indra began to think of how Namuchi could be killed. He then thought of foam, which is neither moist nor dry. Using a weapon of foam, he was able to kill Namuchi. Thus Indra and the other demigods killed many demons. Then, at the request of Lord Brahma, Narada went to the demigods and forbade them to kill the demons any longer. All the demigods then returned to their abodes. Following the instructions of Narada, whatever demons remained alive on the battlefield took Bali Maharaj to Asta mountain. There, by the touch of Shukracharya's hand, Bali Maharaj regained his senses and consciousness, and those demons whose heads and bodies had not been completely lost were brought back to life by the mystic power of Shukracharya. Text 1. Not lacking in any action. Translation. Shukadeva Goswami said, "Thereafter, by the supreme grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Hari, all the demigods, headed by Indra and Vayu, were brought back to life. Being enlivened, the demigods began severely beating the same demons who had defeated them before." Text 2. When the most powerful Indra became angry and took his thunderbolt in hand to kill Maharaj Bali, the demons began lamenting, "Alas, alas." Text 3. Sober and tolerant and well-equipped with paraphernalia for fighting, Bali Maharaj moved before Indra on the great battlefield. King Indra, who always carries the thunderbolt in his hand, rebuked Bali Maharaj as follows. Text 4. Indra said, "O rascal, as a cheater sometimes binds the eyes of a child and takes away his possessions, you are trying to defeat us by displaying some mystic power, although you know that we are masters of all such mystic powers." Text 5. Those rascals, those fools and rascals who want to ascend to the upper planetary system by mystic power or by mechanical means, or who endeavor to cross even the upper planets and achieve the spiritual world or liberation, I cause to be sent to the lowest region of the universe. Purport. There are undoubtedly different planetary systems for different persons. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 14:18, Urdvam gachanti satvasta. Persons in the mode of goodness can go to the upper planets. Those in the modes of darkness and passion, however, are not allowed to enter the higher planets. The word Divam refers to the higher planetary system known as Swargaloka. Indra, king of the higher planetary system, has the power to push down any conditioned soul attempting to go from the lower to the higher planets without proper qualifications. The modern attempt to go to the moon is also an attempt by inferior men to go to Swargaloka by artificial, mechanical means. This attempt cannot be successful. From this statement of Indra, it appears that anyone attempting to go to the higher planetary systems by mechanical means, which are here called Maya, is condemned to go to the hellish planets in the lower portion of the universe. To go to the higher planetary system, one needs sufficient good qualities. A sinful person, situated in the mode of ignorance and addicted to drinking, meat eating, and illicit sex, will never enter the higher planets by mechanical means. Text 6. Today with my thunderbolt, which has hundreds of sharp edges, I, the same powerful person, shall sever your head from your body. Although you can produce so much jugglery through illusion, you are endowed with a poor fund of knowledge. Now, try to exist on this battlefield with your relatives and friends. You know, in boxing, they always have the kind of like face-off before, and then get up right at each other's nose, and they look at each other and go, "Wah," you know, isn't it?
Yeah.
Try to fire each other up and have everybody get all excited, you know. So that happens also. Well, Hare Krishna. How nice to see you again. Den.
Bren.
Oh, Bren. Somehow or other I thought it was Den. Why did I think that? Old age.
Because of my accent.
No, it's old. It's old.
Speech impediment.
It's old age. Brain impediment. Nice to see you. Hare Krishna. Text 7. We're right in the middle of that demon and demigod fight. It's getting quite gory. Text 7. Bali Maharaj replied, all those present on this battlefield are certainly under the influence of eternal time, and according to their prescribed activities, they are destined to receive fame, victory, defeat, and death, one after another. Purport. If one is victorious on the battlefield, he becomes famous. And if one is not victorious but is defeated, he may die. Both victory and defeat are possible, whether on such a battlefield as this, or on the battlefield of the struggle for existence. Everything takes place according to the laws of nature. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha. Since everyone, without exception, is subject to the modes of material nature, whether one is victorious or defeated, he is not independent, but is under the control of material nature. Bali Maharaj therefore was very sensible. He knew that the fighting was arranged by eternal time, and that under time's influence one must accept the results of one's own activities. Therefore, even though Indra threatened that he would now kill Bali Maharaj by releasing the thunderbolt, Bali Maharaj was not at all afraid. This is the spirit of a Kshatriya. Yudhe chapalayanam, Bhagavad Gita 18:43. A Kshatriya must be tolerant in all circumstances, especially on the battlefield. Thus Bali Maharaj asserted that he was not at all afraid of death, although he was threatened by such a great personality as the King of Heaven. Text 8. Seeing the movements of time, those who are cognizant of the real truth neither rejoice nor lament for different circumstances. Therefore, because you are jubilant due to your victory, you should be considered not very learned. Purport. Bali Maharaj knew that Indra, King of Heaven, was extremely powerful, certainly more powerful than himself. Nonetheless, Bali Maharaj challenged Indra by saying that Indra was not a very learned person. In Bhagavad Gita 2:11, Krishna rebuked Arjuna by saying, Ashochanan vishochas tvam pragyabadang jabashase gatasun agatasun cha nanu shochanti panditaha. While speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. Thus, as Krishna challenged Arjuna by saying that he was not a pandita, or a learned person, Bali Maharaj also challenged King Indra and his associates. In this material world, everything happens under the influence of time. Consequently, for a learned person who sees how things are taking place, there is no question of being sorry or happy because of the waves of material nature. After all, since we are being carried away by these waves, what is the meaning of being jubilant or morose? One who is fully conversant with the laws of nature is never jubilant or morose because of nature's activities. In Bhagavad Gita 2:14, Krishna advises that one be tolerant, tongues titikshas sabharata. Following this advice of Krishna's, one should not be morose or unhappy because of circumstantial changes. This is the symptom of a devotee. A devotee carries out his duty in Krishna consciousness and is never unhappy in awkward circumstances. He has full faith that in such circumstances, Krishna protects his devotee. Therefore, a devotee never deviates from his prescribed duty of devotional service. Therefore, a devotee never deviates from his prescribed duty of devotional service. The material qualities of jubilation and moroseness are present even in the demigods, who are very highly situated in the upper planetary systems. Therefore, when one is undisturbed by the so-called favorable and unfavorable circumstances of this material world, he should be understood to be Brahmabhuta, or self-realized. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 18:54, Brahmabhuta prasanatma nashochati nakankshati. One who is transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. When one is undisturbed by material circumstances, he should be understood to be on the transcendental stage, above the reactions of the three modes of material nature. Text 9. You demigods think that your own selves are the cause of your attaining fame and victory. Because of your ignorance, saintly persons feel sorry for you. Therefore your words afflict the heart. We do not accept them. Text 10. Shukadeva Goswami said, After thus rebuking Indra, king of heaven, with sharp words, Bali Maharaj, who could subdue any other hero, drew back to his ear the arrows known as narachas and attacked Indra with these arrows. Then he again chastised Indra with strong words. Text 11. Since Bali Maharaj's rebukes were truthful, King Indra did not at all become sorry. Just as an elephant beaten by a driver's rod does not become agitated. Text 12. When Indra, the defeater of enemies, released his infallible thunderbolt scepter at Bali Maharaj with the desire to kill him, Bali Maharaj indeed fell to the ground with his airplane like a mountain with its wings cut off. Purport. In many descriptions in Vedic literature, it is found that mountains also fly in the sky with wings. When such mountains are dead, they fall to the ground, where they stay as very large dead bodies. Text 13. When the demon Jambasura saw that his friend Bali had fallen, he appeared before Indra, the enemy, just to serve Bali Maharaj with friendly behavior. Text 14. The greatly powerful Jambasura, carried by a lion, approached Indra and forcefully struck him on the shoulder with his club. He also struck Indra's elephant. Text 15. Being beaten by Jambasura's club, Indra's elephant was confused and aggrieved. Thus it touched its knees to the ground and fell unconscious. Text 16. Whoa. Thereafter, Matali, Indra's chariot driver, brought Indra's chariot, which was drawn by 1,000 horses. Indra then left his elephant and got onto the chariot. Text 17. Appreciating Matali's service, Jambasura, the best of the demons, smiled. Nonetheless, he struck Matali in the battle with a trident of blazing fire. Although the pain was extremely severe, Matali tolerated with great patience. Indra, however, became extremely angry at Jambasura. He struck Jambasura with his thunderbolt and thus severed his head from his body. Text 19. When Narada Rishi informed Jambasura's friends and relatives that Jambasura had been killed, the three demons named Namuchi, Bala, and Paka arrived on the battlefield in great haste. Text 20. Rebuking Indra with harsh, cruel words that were piercing to the heart, these demons showered him with arrows, just as torrents of rain wash a great mountain. 21. Quickly handling the situation on the battlefield, the demon Bala put all of Indra's 1,000 horses into tribulation by simultaneously piercing them, all with an equal number of arrows. Text 22. Paka, another demon, attacked both the chariot with all its paraphernalia and the chariot driver, Matali, by fitting 200 arrows to his bow and releasing them all simultaneously. This was indeed a wonderful act on the battlefield. Text 23. Then Namuchi, another demon, attacked Indra and injured him with 15 very powerful golden feathered arrows, which roared like a cloud full of water. Text 24. Other demons covered Indra, along with his chariot and chariot driver, with incessant showers of arrows, just as clouds cover the sun in the rainy season. Text 25. The demigods, being severely oppressed by their enemies and being unable to see Indra on the battlefield, were very anxious. Having no captain or leader, they began lamenting like traders in a wrecked vessel in the middle of the ocean. Purport. From this statement, it appears that in the upper planetary system, there is shipping and that traders there engage in navigation as their occupational duty. Sometimes, as on this planet, these traders are shipwrecked in the middle of the ocean. It appears that even in the upper planetary system, such calamities occasionally take place. The upper planetary system, in the creation of the Lord, is certainly not vacant or devoid of living creatures. From Srimad-Bhagavatam we understand that every planet is full of living entities, just as Earth is. There is no reason to accept that on other planetary systems there are no living beings. Text 26. Thereafter, Indra released himself from the cage of the network of arrows, appearing with his chariot, flag, horses, and chariot driver, and thus pleasing the sky, the earth, and all directions. He shone effulgently like the sun at the end of night. Indra was bright and beautiful in the vision of everyone. Text 27. When Indra, who is known as Vajradhara, the carrier of the thunderbolt, saw his own soldiers so oppressed by the enemies on the battlefield, he became very angry. Thus he took up his thunderbolt to kill the enemies. Text 28. O King Parikshit, King Indra used his thunderbolt to cut off the heads of both Bala and Paka in the presence of all their relatives and followers. In this way he created a very fearful atmosphere on the battlefield. Text 29. O King, when Namuchi, another demon, saw the killer of both Bala and Paka, he was full of grief and lamentation. Thus he angrily made a great attempt to kill Indra. Text 30. Being angry and roaring like a lion, the demon Namuchi took up a steel spear, which was bound with bells and decorated with ornaments of gold. He loudly cried, "Now you are killed." Thus coming before Indra to kill him, Namuchi released his weapon. 31. O King, when Indra, King of Heaven, saw this very powerful spear falling toward the ground like a blazing meteor, he immediately cut it to pieces with his arrows. Then, being very angry, he struck Namuchi's shoulder with his thunderbolt to cut off Namuchi's head. 32. Although King Indra hurled his thunderbolt at Namuchi with great force, it could not even pierce his skin. It is very wonderful that the famed thunderbolt that had pierced the body of Vritrasura could not even slightly injure the skin of Namuchi's neck. When Indra saw the thunderbolt return from the enemy, he was very much afraid. He began to wonder whether this had happened because of some miraculous superior power. Purport. Indra's thunderbolt is invincible, and therefore when Indra saw that it had returned without doing any injury to Namuchi, he was certainly very much afraid. 34. Indra thought, formerly, when many mountains flying in the sky with wings would fall to the ground and kill people, I cut their wings with this same thunderbolt. Vritrasura was the essence of the austerities undergone by Twashta, yet the thunderbolt killed him. Indeed, not only he, but also many other stalwart heroes, whose very skin could not be injured even by all kinds of weapons, were killed by the same thunderbolt. But now, although the same thunderbolt had been released against a less important demon, it has been ineffectual. Therefore, although it was as good as a Brahmastra, it has now become useless, like an ordinary rod. I shall therefore hold it no longer. 37. Shukadeva Goswami continued, while the morose Indra was lamenting in this way, an ominous, unembodied voice said from the sky, this demon, Namuchi, is not to be annihilated by anything dry or moist. 38. The voice also said, O Indra, because I have given this demon the benediction that he will never be killed by any weapon that is dry or moist, you have to think of another way to kill him. 39. After hearing the ominous voice, Indra, with great attention, began to meditate on how to kill the demon. He then saw that foam would be the means, for it is neither moist nor dry. 40. Thus Indra, king of heaven, severed Namuchi's head with a weapon of foam, which is neither dry nor moist. Then all the sages satisfied Indra, the exalted personality, by showering flowers and garlands upon him, almost covering him. Purport. In this regard, the Shruti mantras say, Apam, Penina, Namuche, Shira Indro Darayat. Indra killed Namuchi with watery foam, which is neither moist nor dry. Text 41. Vishvavasu, and Paravasu, the two chiefs of the Gandharvas, sang in great happiness. The kettle drums of the demigods sounded, and the Apsaras danced in jubilation. Text 42. Vayu, Agni, Varuna, and other demigods began killing the demons who opposed them, just as lions killed deer in the forest. Text 43. O king, when Lord Brahma saw the imminent total annihilation of the demons, he sent a message with Narada, who went before the demigods to make them stop fighting. Text 44. The great sage Narada said, all of you demigods are protected by the arms of Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by his grace you have gotten the nectar. By the grace of the Goddess of Fortune, you are glorious in every way. Therefore, please stop this fighting. Text 45. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, accepting the words of Narada, the demigods gave up their anger and stopped fighting. Being praised by their followers, they returned to their heavenly planets. 46. Following the order of Narada Muni, whatever demons remained on the battlefield took Bali Maharaj, who was in a precarious condition, to the hill known as Astagiri. There on that hill, Shukracharya brought to life all the dead demoniac soldiers who had not lost their heads, trunks, and limbs. He achieved this by his own mantra, known as Samjivani. 48. Bali Maharaj was very experienced in universal affairs. When he regained his senses and memory by the grace of Shukracharya, he could understand everything that had happened. Therefore, although he had been defeated, he did not lament. Purport. It is significant that Bali Maharaj is here said to be very experienced. Although defeated, he was not at all sorry, for he knew that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since he was a devotee, he accepted his defeat without lamentation. As stated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhagavad Gita 2:47, Karmanyevadikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. Everyone in Krishna consciousness should execute his duty without regard for victory or defeat. One must execute his duty as ordered by Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master. Anukulina Krishnanu Shilanam Bhaktir Uttama. In first-class devotional service, one always abides by the orders and will of Krishna. Thus in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 11th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled King Indra Annihilates the Demons. Two claps. Oh, all right. We'll let you win this time. Okay. Chapter 12. Whoa, this is a heavy chapter. Maybe I'll just read the summary. It's almost time to stop. We'll read the summary. Little preview of coming attractions. The Mohini Murti incarnation bewilders Lord Shiva. This chapter describes how Lord Shiva was bewildered upon seeing the beautiful Mohini Murti incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and how he later came to his senses. When Lord Shiva heard about the pastimes performed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, in the form of an attractive woman, he mounted his bull and went to see the Lord. Accompanied by his wife, Uma, and his servants, the Bhuta Gana, or ghosts, he approached the lotus feet of the Lord. Lord Shiva offered obeisances to the Supreme Lord as the all-pervading Lord, the universal form, the supreme controller of creation, the supersoul, the resting place for everyone, and the completely independent cause of all causes. He thus offered prayers, giving truthful descriptions of the Lord. Then he expressed his desire. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is very kind to his devotees. Therefore, to fulfill the desire of his devotee, Lord Shiva, he expanded his energy and manifested himself in the form of a very beautiful and attractive woman. Upon seeing this form, even Lord Shiva was captivated. Later, by the grace of the Lord, he controlled himself. This demonstrates that by the power of the Lord's external energy, everyone is captivated by the form of woman in this material world. Again, however, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can overcome the influence of Maya. This was evinced by Lord Shiva, the topmost devotee of the Lord. First he was captivated, but later, by the grace of the Lord, he restrained himself. It is declared in this connection that only a pure devotee can restrain himself from the attractive feature of Maya. Otherwise, once a living entity is trapped by the external feature of Maya, he cannot overcome it. After Lord Shiva was graced by the Supreme Lord, he circumambulated the Lord along with his wife, Bhavani, and his companions, the ghosts. Then he left for his own abode. Shukadeva Goswami concludes this chapter by describing the transcendental qualities of Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by declaring that one can glorify the Lord by 9 kinds of devotional service, beginning with Shravanam Kirtanam. And that's what we're doing every day. This is the process. So simple, so clean and pure, powerful. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll start the next chapter tomorrow. Okay, time for the magic open mic session. Yes, Prana. Oh wait, we have 2 at once. Age before beauty.
I was only going to say something nobody else said.
There you go. There you go.
I was just going to bring this one up. The last purport that we read, or in that the previous chapter, it is significant that Bali Maharaj is here said to be very experienced. Although defeated, he was not at all sorry, for he knew that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since he was a devotee, he accepted his defeat without lamentation. And I thought that was pretty good. I like that. It's kind of gives you like strength to know that, you know, whatever happens, Krishna's in control, even if you're supposedly defeated, you're not really defeated. So
how is that possible that a demon could feel like that?
that's another question that I had. That even
Do we have any takers for answers?
Yeah, right
Well, it's related to what I was going to say, was how we see throughout the Bhagavatam this, how do I say, juxtaposition between Indra and Bali. Or we see Indra and Vritrasura, and then Indra and Bali Maharaj. And how Indra, even though he's a demigod and devotee of Vishnu, he acts very, how do I say, like, he's absorbed in his own gains, the heavenly planets, his kingdom, his own fear of sinful reactions, whereas we see even with Vritrasura, he was okay to be killed and go back to Godhead. And Bali Maharaj, we also see here and will see with the Vamanadev pastime, how Bali Maharaj was thinking how, here it's just interesting that he was detached and he was aware of the eternal time factor. And it seems like there's this transcendental consciousness beyond the demon and the demigod that Bali Maharaj is. Of course, he's the grandson of Prahlad.
That's the answer. Repeat that one again.
Bali Maharaj is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. So
there you go. That's why he's different than the other demons. That's why he could be equipoised even when he was defeated. And that's why he could give himself to Vamanadev even when he knew that what was going to happen.
Prahlad had 21 generations blessed because of him, after and before him.
Yeah, but Bali was even special. Yeah. Because he was grandson, and he was special. He also knew Narada Muni and so many things. But that's the difference, because the demon comes in contact with a pure devotee and becomes submissive or subordinate to a pure devotee. Then he gets an extra dimension of understanding. And the same thing with Vritrasura. He was a pure devotee before, and he got cursed, for making a joke with Lord Shiva by Parvati. But he had gone through, he was Chitraketu Maharaj before, and he was so attached, and by the grace of Narada Muni, he got transcendental knowledge, and then he became unattached, and he perfected his life, and then, anyway, it was one thing after another, whereas he got contact, he had come in contact with Krishna, with Krishna's devotees, and devotional service. Therefore, you get an extra dimension of opportunity in life, even among the demons and the intense battle, Yeah.
There's this verse in the 5th canto, I believe, when there's this small section describing about Bali Maharaj in the 5th canto, going through all the planets, in the lower planets where he's at. And there's this one verse which is really outstanding for me, how it says that how even though Bali Maharaj was cheated by Vamanadev, he was bound up by the ropes of Varuna, and then he was thrown into a mountain cave. And his whole kingdom, everything was taken away from him. Still, his only lamentation was, he was thinking, how unfortunate is Indra that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vamana, appeared before him, and instead of asking how he could serve him, he instead engaged Vamanadev in his service to get back his own kingdom. So I really appreciate that display of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, so it's not just because we're born in demon families that we can't be pure devotees. That's the idea. By the mercy of the Vaishnavas in Krishna. But also sages. Yes, Bhakti Doug.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Bhakti Doug.
Just to add on more to Indra's behavior, I thought it's really interesting just to see how Bali Maharaj is speaking to him and kind of like criticizing him, how he's going back and forth through all this. He's completely jubilant when he's winning, but when he feels like he's losing, he becomes morose, and he's like, oh, what do I do? And we saw it clearly where he was just destroying all the demons, and he was really relying on his own strength. And then at one point he cast his thunderbolt on, who was it, Namuchi, and it didn't work, and it said he immediately became morose. And he's like, all right, well, he's not taking shelter of Krishna, obviously. He's relying on his own thunderbolt as his strength. So I thought that was
Yeah, that's the same thing that happened to him and Vritrasura, only it was the club. He threw his club, and Vritrasura just caught it with the left hand and bonked his elephant on the head, and the elephant got bewildered. And then, and then Indra, even though he was given this thunderbolt made from the bones of what's the name of his name? Dadichi. And it was blessed by Vishnu to be able to kill Vritrasura, and Vritrasura knew it, and he wanted Indra to kill him because he wanted to go back to Godhead. He was finished with the material world. He was ready, even though he was in that position of a big demon. And then Vritrasura had to preach to Indra, pick up that weapon. Why should you lament like this, you fool? And then he started preaching to him. And Indra has to take all this stuff because of his attachment. Yes, Bhakti Doug.
Is there any significance to the type of weapon that was needed to kill Namuchi? I know he said he received a benediction, but is there any reason why?
I don't remember there's something in the Puranas about that, but I don't remember.
Okay.
Frankly.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Dr. Damodar.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Dr. Damodar.
Thank you, Maharaj. As from the different news outlet, we know that the whole world is celebrating 50 years of moon landing, and lots of reports are coming. So, reading the purport of Srila Prabhupada and with the simple logic, we can understand that it's difficult, it's impossible to go to moon in this body. It's a different planet. But for the kids who has been told again and again, and there's everyone is supporting in media that they went and they are celebrating, and the details and the books, interviews. So if this guy will be asking, we were talking about it, and so how to answer these, even I was listening, I was not born that time, but I was listening how they know, in 69 they landed the moon, it only by the evidences of he say. There was no camera, no recording, it was only on the radio. They were saying what they are doing or how they landed, and people were watching in black and white television, but there was no live footage, but just pictures when they came back or radio commentary. so there are a lot of conflicting and suspiciousness about the whole claim.
Well, there's lots of conspiracy theories.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. But again, like everyone is supporting except like the few who are not. And then if we like how to convince or how to tell like this.
Well,
generation.
one time there was a very honest, and there used to be really honest journalists. I suppose there are still, but there's so many things that happen now. But there was a real honest journalist who met Prabhupada in Los Angeles, and he had heard that Prabhupada said that they didn't go to the moon or something like that. And then he tried to pin Prabhupada down, and get him to say that they didn't go to the moon. And he couldn't do it. In other words, Prabhupada started out by saying that, the moon is a different atmosphere, and you can't go to that atmosphere in your present body. We are in a body that's meant to be living on the earth. And then he said you'd have to have a different body. And then the journalist said, well, they have a spacesuit, and would that be, sufficient? And Prabhupada said, well, maybe you can go there and touch it, but you'd have to come back because you keep the atmosphere of the earth, inside the spacesuit. And it went on and on like this. And he tried in so many different ways, but he never could actually, get Prabhupada to say it directly. There were other times when Prabhupada did say it, but that's a way to kind of approach it when a person may have, some doubt about what they said or what they didn't say, about what Prabhupada said or didn't say. You can say that they might have gone there in their tin can and touched it, but then they had to come back. They couldn't stay there, couldn't live there. And you can say, well, but they say they can, but then you say, well, let's see them do it first, and then we'll accept that.
They did?
He never pinned him down. Touched the moon and came back. But that doesn't mean that they went there. It doesn't mean he went there, because they couldn't see. There's a different atmosphere. You can't see what's going on in the moon with this body, with this atmosphere. There was another point that Prabhupada made, that there's a very good chance that they landed on Rahu instead of the moon, because the moon is in between.
Yeah, because Japan just landed on one meteorite, like the whole spaceship.
Yeah, on an asteroid.
Asteroid, yes.
Yeah. But it says right in the headlines, the greatest achievement of humankind. But what does that mean? What is achievement? They brought back some rocks, and they analyzed it. The rocks are pretty much the same as rocks you can get in different parts of the earth. So what is the achievement? They spend, $30 billion, $50 billion, $60 billion. In the meantime, there's so much need for money to do so many things here, and they're spending, oceans of water of money doing so many different things. So what is the use of it? Why are we glorifying it so much? That's because we set foot on the moon. I mean, big deal, And how many years ago was it? 50 years. And they haven't gone since. Why? If it was something that they could do and develop, and in the meantime they've ruined this planet practically. So what is that's the approach that I think is better to take. Teach youngsters what's the benefit of it. They have some kind of minerals there that they don't have here, or the cost of extracting those minerals from the moon to here. I mean, hello, anybody around? What planet are they on? That's how I would answer it.
So, in a real sense, I mean, you talk about a tin can going from Earth to the moon, and it being incompatible with life in terms of the different atmospheres. But Krishna is actually our vehicle. Certainly not a tin can. Because
Excuse me?
I say Krishna is our vehicle to get to Godhead, which is a totally different atmosphere.
No. Krishna is not our vehicle.
No, but belief in it, servicing.
Yeah, but that's different.
I
Prabhupada's
apologize.
saying that the actual physical vehicle that they used to go to the moon
Right.
couldn't actually enter the moon, or to put it another way,
Correct.
the body that they've had, which is meant to live on the earth, can't perceive the atmosphere there on the moon because it's a different atmosphere.
And I'm saying spiritually.
Well, it's not spiritual.
No, but I'm saying spiritually, Krishna is our vehicle in order to get back to Godhead.
No. Krishna is not our vehicle. We're not.
But belief in him,
That's another
service,
thing.
that's what I'm referring to.
That's another
Belief,
thing.
service, dedication,
Devotion.
devotion.
Pure devotion.
Absolutely. All of those things
Yes.
are the vehicle, right, in order to be able to... So the transition in terms of atmospheres occurs on this earth. And that is magnificent.
Well, it's not.
I mean, in terms of developing, in terms of being able... Do you make sense? Metaphorically, I'm talking about.
Yes.
In order to be able to advance.
Yes.
It's the only exception.
Yes. Correct.
And so it elevates us.
Yes.
Literally and figuratively.
Yes.
Krishna will it.
Yes. And therefore, also on top of that, why should we want to go to the moon or any other higher planet in this universe?
Exactly.
Because it's
Everything
just
else becomes defunct.
it's just another material body, another material experience that's going to be lost when we leave this body. Yes, Bhakti Damodar. Yes.
It's just a pleasure, Maharaj, but I just read today, and when you said there was a lot of problems, so when there were, this is what, you all are much aware who were here on the earth that time, but there was a lot of protest from different group of people to stop the government to make that decision of sending the astronauts to the moon, because the same logic was given. There was a lot of problem in 60s, including war and cultural transition. So government convinced, that's what I heard, to the group of protesters, that once we will go there and we know the problem there, we will solve those problems, and then we can imply those problems on solving the earth problem. So that's how they convinced the people to stop protesting and let them go.
It is folly to be wise, where ignorance is bliss.
And it's 50 years we still
Try
to implement.
Fool's paradise. Fool's paradise. What do you think, Tamal?
We were having hard discussion in the car.
Okay, I'm going to go now. It's 10 minutes to 6. Let everybody go to the program in the temple room. And thank you so much for attending, and thank you for the very brilliant reflections and discussions. And we offer there's somebody from...
there's 2 on here.
2 in cyberspace. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut the cyberspace person short.
Okay, I guess. The first, I'll read them anyway, just in case you want to touch on anything. Hare Krishna Maharaj, how is it possible that they could
Who is this?
Krishna Kata Das.
Uh-huh.
How is it possible that they could be kings of the demons and yet still be devotees? And then...
Well, there's only one king of the demons in this pastime, that's Vali Maharaj. And he could be king of the demons because he was allowed by Krishna to stay the king of the demons when he was defeated. And also because he comes in the line of authority, the line of he was the grandchild of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj was the son of Hiranyakashipu, who became the king of the demons by his force of his arms and his austerities. And then when Lord Nrsingadev came and killed him because of his abuse of Prahlad Maharaj, then the Lord put Prahlad Maharaj as the king of the demons, because he knew that would at least help the situation, to have a pure devotee in charge of the demons.
Katie Romai says, Maharaj, isn't it that we need to leave this body in order to go to any of the higher planets?
Not necessarily. We have to leave our gross body, but the subtle body can go. But yes, we have to have a body suitable for the planet to go there. Okay, I'm going to go now and let everybody go to the planet of Nilamadhava, which is right down the pathway. You can go to Goloka Vrindavan. Much better than the moon. No problem. Easier and better. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Go Premanandi. Thank you very much. Tomorrow's Sunday, 4:30 Central Time, same station, same live studios here in Radha Lane. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everyone. Hari Bol.